What's going on, guys, and welcome back. I'm recording these division predictions kind of back to back because I have time right now. And I had all of Thursday, October 3rd, basically off, so I got the BFR done. I had a midterm in the middle of the day I took from home, and then I just continued making videos. So, Atlantic Division time, we did the Metro Division, that will be posted today on October 3rd after the BFR. And then we're going to post this one on October 4th before the start of the regular season. I want to get those two done because New Jersey and Buffalo face off in the Czech Republic, or Czechia now as it's called, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure what the official name of it was when I was younger as the Czech Republic, and apparently the last few years that's been called Czechia, so we're just going with that. Atlantic Division, hardest division, hands down to rank in this. Anyone could finish anywhere. If a team underperforms, they could be lost in the dark. If a team just doesn't click right away, it could fall right off. This is the most competitive division. You can make an argument for each of these teams making the playoffs. Unlike the Metro, you can make maybe 5 of those teams. I could see 5 teams easily making the playoffs in the Atlantic, and that's what I'm going to have. I have 5 teams making the playoffs. Now, I didn't, even the previous video, I did what I think I'm going to do, and then I'm seeing if I change anything around as more I think about it. I'm doing it kind of the same way here. 8th place, we're going to start it off still on the same spot, and that's Montreal. Montreal has gone through some stuff in the preseason. This has been the most wild preseason for Montreal. Acquired Laine, he's now out for some time. Reinbacher, his injury luck's been horrible. Can Kirby Dach stay healthy for an entire season? I have his shirt, I hope so. And then, of course, you have Suzuki, Caulfield, Slafkovsky. That's fine. They've traded Jordan Harris to Columbus in the Laine deal. Their goaltending, still a bit suspect. Montembeault and Primo, they've played well, but are they your franchise going forward goaltenders? That's debatable. And the defensive side, Mike Matheson was really good last year. Among that, there's work to be done. So Montreal, I think, has the most work to be done. They're the team that's kind of still in the rebuild mode. And, it should be coming to an end soon over the next, I'd say, 2 years. 7th place. Now I'm stuck. If I want to base it off additions, or do I want to base it off whatever? I'm between 2. And they're going to be my 5th and 6th. I'm going to go with... I'm really struggling here. I'm going to go with... I'm sorry, Buffalo fans. I'm going to go Buffalo. Buffalo, I had making the playoffs last year for the first time in 13 years. Didn't happen. They were 1 point away from the playoffs 2 years ago. 2020, they were the first team out of the playoff bubble. This team can't catch a break. They're even more youthful. Their young guys have developed. They've added Bo and Byram on the defense at the deadline in favor to get rid of Casey Middlestat. Poso, their captain's gone. Now that Dahlin's the captain. This team is either going to be a boom or bust, I feel like. This is a team that's going to succeed right out of the gate like Buffalo usually does. The question is, can they sustain that, or will they come back down to earth like they have basically every season since then? But Buffalo at 7, it's hard to do because I'm rooting for them, but I don't know. And then 6th, I'm going to choose Ottawa, also outside the playoffs. Those are your three teams I have outside the playoffs. Ottawa just needs... I don't even know what Ottawa needs to do. The way Ottawa's being built, I don't know. They've had a lot of injury issues. Batherson's been out some significant time. Norris has missed very significant time. Sanderson has looked pretty good, honestly. Brady Tkachuk spends a lot of time in the penalty box, which is not what you want out of a captain, although he is a very good forward. Maybe not as good as Matthew, but still a very good forward. And their goaltending. They've moved on from Korpisalo. They get Ullmark. Goaltending was a big issue for them last season. Can Ullmark improve this? Well, this proved that it's Ullmark that's playing really well in front, because Ullmark played years in Buffalo. People considered him a good goaltender, but he was in Buffalo. Then he was in Boston and he had a historic 2022-23 season. Can 2024-25 be the way Ottawa possibly sneaks into a playoff spot? It's going to be on the back of Ullmark. But I don't see them having enough. Of course, they move out Chychrun and pick up Nick Jensen. It's going to be a lot of these issues is the teams that have been at the top for so long, Boston, Tampa, Toronto, now Florida's been there for 5 years. These teams are not falling off. They're getting older, but Boston was expected to fall off by now. Tampa should have been falling off. They might, you don't know. But these teams are not falling off as they're getting older, which is throwing other teams off. In terms of 5th place in the division, my original thought was Boston because I'm like, Boston's finally going to fall out of the playoffs. Then I thought of the additions they made. And then I also thought Jeremy Swayman's not signed. So I'm going to assume Jeremy Swayman gets signed. I really don't think he gets traded. If he does, I hope he goes to Utah just straight up. Because I think that would be amazing for Utah. But I'm going to say Boston signs Swayman. And I'm going to go with... I'm between two teams once again for 5th and 4th. And it's between Detroit and another. Okay. I'm going to go with... Yeah, we'll go with Detroit. I think Detroit might sneak into that last spot. I think Detroit, the Islanders, the Capitals, and probably the Sens and Sabres are probably going to be fighting it out for that last spot. I think Detroit has... They just missed last year. They missed on a tiebreaker, and now you're getting a full season of Patrick Kane, presuming he doesn't digress. And the goaltending should be better. I mean, it wasn't great last year. Now you've added Cam Talbot, who looked good in the regular season versus LA, and then Edmonton kind of turned him into Swiss cheese in the playoffs, but that's what Edmonton does. So for Detroit, I think they sneak into that playoff spot, and they make the playoffs for the first time since 2016. 4th, then, I'm going to have to go with Tampa again. I was really back and forth on Tampa and Detroit, who to put at 4th and 5th. They lose Stamkos, they lose Sergachev, but they bring back McDonough, and they bring in Getzel. Getzel with Kucherov could pot some goals, especially since he's younger. McDonough, less of a huge move. I would have definitely rather have Sergachev than McDonough. But, they also had a J.J. Moser in that trade and Connor Geeky. So Tampa is trying to get younger. They're following that format as well, which also shows that hockey is becoming, I think, an argument for expansion. There's so much talent that all these teams that are probably good enough to make the playoffs aren't making the playoffs. And we saw that last year. Like, there were, I mean, not in the Metro, but there were teams like a couple years ago, I want to say, that were very close to playoffs. I think 2022 it might have been that season where there were some teams I'm like, how did this team miss the playoffs? Like, these all should have been in just because of their records alone. Because I remember Vegas and Vancouver and all those things, whatever. But beside the point, Tampa's doing kind of rebuilding on the fly while still being a team in contention, although I don't think they're going to be a very far playoff team. Tampa is definitely going to get younger, and they're going to keep improving. In 3rd, I'm really debating this because of history, but history has no memory. And Boston, a team that I've wanted to fall off for so long and just doesn't fall off. You think Bergeron and Krejci are gone, they'll fall off. You think just in general they look less of a team, they won't fall off. Now you've got Elias Lindholm, when he's healthy, as your number 1 center. If he could play with Pastrnak well, if he either fits or he doesn't, it could be great, it could be not. They in Vancouver basically switched players. DeBrusk is out. Lindholm was in. Heinen's out, and they brought in someone else. Forbert's out. Zadorov's in. It's just a complete. It was basically a trade done between Vancouver and Boston. Zadorov's going to be a key piece. They spent a lot of money on Zadorov. If he can provide the offensive production and the physicalness that he provides when he was with Vancouver, this team could be very dangerous on the blue line because this is a team that's never really had a bad blue line. It's a blue line that's been inconsistent. So if Zadorov can provide consistency, then I think this could be a bargain of a signing for what he provided in Vancouver. Because that's what he earned the money he got. Is he going to play that way in Boston? We don't know. Number 2, I'm going to pick Toronto, which would mean Toronto and Boston face in the first round again, which maybe this time Toronto having home ice advantage will change things. I don't know. Which means Florida is going to be number 1 again in the, as I made it a little too small. Let me see if I can squeeze that in there. Put the Y right there because I gave the Rangers the conference. We'll give the division win to the Florida Panthers again. They'll be defending champions, which means they could play Tampa in the first round again. And yes, Battle of Florida equals a yes. Boston and Toronto equals a yes. The Rangers in Detroit then, and the Devils and the Hurricanes. So, some good series there. But yeah, Florida defending champions, no reason to see why they'll fall off. Although they lose Montour, they re-signed Reinhart, pick one of the two, and they picked, I think, the right one. From what Montour went to Seattle for. Probably not going to, if he lives up to that, good for him. I really like Montour, but we'll see. In terms of division shakeup, definitely the hardest division to rank. Easily the hardest division. Any of these teams could really make the playoffs. I could see Montreal being in the hunt for the last few weeks of the season if everything goes right. But it's going to be an exciting season in the Eastern Conference now that we're done with both of those divisions. Moving on to the Western Conference, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I shall see you all in the next one. Have a good one.